What if I told you that the very thing you're always searching for is actually the reason you keep failing? I'm talking about motivation, that electric, exciting feeling you get when you start something new. The rush of a brilliant idea, the energy that makes you feel unstoppable. But then, a week passes. The work becomes boring. The excitement fades, the motivation disappears, and you're left with another half-finished project, feeling like a failure. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You just keep using the wrong fuel. Today I'll tell you a simple story about a young watchmaker and an old, impossible clock. A story that reveals a power far stronger than motivation. A power that never fades, and that guarantees you'll finish what you start. Leo was a gifted young watchmaker who inherited his father's small, dusty shop in a quiet town. Everyone believed he had natural talent, and they weren't wrong. He understood gears, springs, abandoned project after clockwork better than most people ever could. Leaving his workshop cluttered with unfinished work. But Leo had one major weakness. Customers stopped coming when he felt motivated. Dust gathered on the shelves. He loved big ideas, felt like a grand inventions, and exciting new designs. He didn't understand that his problem wasn't talent. Was full of magnificent concepts that no motivation had ever built. He didn't yet know that motivation is a spark. He worked with incredible passion. But the moment the excitement faded or the task became repetitive, he would quit instantly. Small repairs felt boring to him. Replacing batteries, cleaning old watches, dealing with routine customer requests. All of it felt beneath his dreams. Slowly, he abandoned project after project, leaving his workshop cluttered with unfinished work. Customers stopped coming, dust gathered on the shelves, and Leo felt like a failure. He didn't understand that his problem wasn't talent. It was his dependence on motivation. He didn't yet know that motivation is a spark, but discipline is the engine. One morning, an old wealthy man entered Leo's nearly silent shop, carrying a magnificent but broken grandfather clock. The clock was a masterpiece, tall, made of dark polished wood, decorated with intricate brass engravings, and clearly crafted by a true master. The old man explained that the clock had belonged to his father and had been silent for 50 long years. He had taken it to many skilled watchmakers across the country, but all of them had declared it impossible to fix. Then he said something that shocked Leo. "Your father was the only one who might have fixed it. They say you have his talent." The old man offered Leo enough money to save the failing shop, but only if he could restore the clock to life. Leo's eyes lit up instantly. This wasn't a boring repair. This was a legendary challenge, a test of brilliance, a chance to prove that he was something more than an ordinary watchmaker. Fueled by excitement, he agreed without hesitation, unaware of the true difficulty ahead. For the first few days, Leo worked on the old clock with fiery motivation. He took it apart piece by delicate piece, marveling at its complexity. The thrill of working on something legendary pushed him forward with energy and excitement. But soon, the real challenge revealed itself. The clock was made of over 1,000 parts, tiny gears, fragile springs, microscopic screws, and every single one needed to be cleaned, checked, measured, and studied. The work was slow, repetitive, and painfully tedious. Day by day, Leo's motivation began to fade. He grew frustrated, bored, and exhausted. One afternoon, while angry and tired, he knocked an entire tray of tiny screws onto the floor. They scattered everywhere. As he knelt down to gather them, a heavy wave of hopelessness washed over him. He felt like a complete. Unable to sleep, Leo began cleaning his father's old desk, planning to close the shop forever. While rummaging through the dusty drawers, he discovered a hidden compartment containing several small leather-bound journals. Curious, he opened them. Instead of brilliant insights or genius inventions, that night the pages were filled with simple records of his father's daily work. He would call the old man in the morning and tell him he couldn't fix it. Long hours, he had given up, retreat, not because the task was impossible, but because motivation alone wasn't enough. There was no drama, no excitement, only consistency. One entry described 3 hours spent cleaning a single wheel in an old pocket watch. Another page mentioned repairing a boy's cheap watch for free just to make him smile. Then Leo found a short paragraph that changed everything. A man who works only when inspired will Be a man of many beginnings and no endings. A great clock ticks not from inspiration but from being built correctly, second after second. A craftsman must do the same. These words hit Leo like a shock. He realized his father's success came not from motivation but from discipline. This was the secret he never understood. The next morning, Leo walked into his shop transformed by the wisdom in his father's journals. He didn't wait for motivation. He didn't search for excitement. Instead, he created a new rule for himself. 4 hours of work on the grandfather clock every single morning, no excuses. And he kept that promise. The first days were incredibly difficult. His mind constantly urged him to stop, to chase something new, to do anything more interesting. But he stayed. He worked slowly, patiently, methodically. He cleaned one piece at a time, inspected each gear, and polished every delicate part. Some days he made almost no progress. Some days he spent hours on a single tiny component, but he kept showing up, and something began to change within him. A quiet satisfaction replaced frustration. Pride slowly replaced impatience. He started seeing beauty in the small things, the perfect shine of polished brass, the smooth turning of gears. Through steady work, he wasn't just repairing a clock, he was repairing his character. Little by little, discipline turned him into the craftsman he always wanted to be. After 3 long weeks of disciplined effort, Leo finally found the problem. A single bent tooth on a tiny gear hidden deep within the clock's mechanism. It was so small that no one without patience would have ever discovered it. With calm precision, he repaired the tooth and began reassembling the 1,000 pieces. When he hung the last pendulum and gave it a gentle push, the shop fell silent. The grandfather clock came back to life. Tick. It was the most beautiful sound he had ever heard. Tick. The next day, the old man returned. Seeing the restored clock, he stood silently for a full minute, tears rolling down his cheeks. "You haven't just fixed a clock. You gave me back a piece of my life," he whispered. Leo finally understood. True, the grandfather clock came back to life. It was the most beautiful sound he had ever heard. The next day, the old man returned. Seeing the restored clock, he stood silently for a full minute, tears rolling down his cheeks. "You haven't just fixed a clock. You gave me back a piece of my life," he whispered. Leo finally understood. True,